guys, welcome to another episode of D&D. So today I'm going to be talking to you about my top 5 Nintendo 64 games. Retro! The N64 was my first ever real computer console. I'd never played any real computer console games before then, so things like the Mega Drive, SNES and things like that, I didn't have much experience at all. And then the Nintendo 64 came and my life was changed forever. Shadows of the Empire is a third-person shooter and it was made in 1996. It follows the plot of the Shadows of the Empire novel, so for any of those fans of Star Wars who actually read the novels, you'll be pretty familiar with the general plot of the game. You're playing the role of Dash Rendar, who is a mercenary who's basically there to save Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia's butt. There's 10 levels and they're based on specific scenes in the book. For example, the end battle above Coruscant and the scene where Dash Rendar basically has to save Luke Skywalker's butt in Beggar's Canyon. Admittedly, it did have mixed reviews, but I loved it because it was a Star Wars tie-in. It was interesting to play the role of Dash, and it's not focusing on the big three Star Wars characters of Han Solo, Luke and Leia. I particularly love the fact that they used the Star Wars score, and I think for its time really, the graphics were incredible. So, Rogue Squadron was the first of the 3 Rogue Squadron games in that particular series. Now there were Star Wars Starfighter games before this, the XWing series. That was more focused on like space simulation really. Rogue Squadron is more about arcade style Starfighter combat really. There are 16 levels based in the classic Star Wars era. Now final level in Rogue Squadron actually starts at the Dark Empire series, which was an expanded universe comic. So the story in the game does tend to stretch quite a considerable length of time. In each particular level you have objectives, and at the end of each level, when you've completed it, you would be graded on certain targets that you've completed. As a result, you'd be awarded a medal, bronze, silver or gold. And you can use those particular medals to unlock some 3D Suite content. What I particularly loved about this game was that it was a Star Wars tie-in again. I particularly was a big fan of Rogue Squadron, especially the Rogue Squadron books in the X-Wing series. I think it was a fairly decent story, to be honest. It wasn't just about getting your X-Wing and shoot a load of shit. And also, the content that you could unlock with the medals that you're awarded were pretty awesome. You got to be in a Death Star trench run. Now number 3 is Perfect Dark, which was a first-person shooter that was created in 2000. Most people consider it as the successor to the GoldenEye tie-in on the N64, and you're playing a character called Joanna Dark as you're basically trying to stop a conspiracy by a rival corporation. There's a lot of levels in this game. There are 17 missions to complete, and it was particularly renowned for the multiplayer that it had, where you could play to up to 4 human players and 8 AI players. It got quite a lot of really good reviews for this game, particularly for the quality of the AI that was used. So what I really liked about this was the futuristic setting. It was set in 2023. It was quite similar to GoldenEye, which you may or may not see later in the episode. The multiplayer especially I really enjoyed, particularly with the different scenarios. You had things like the normal deathmatch, capture the flag, king of a hill. You also had one which you gained points for hacking computers, which was called Hacker Central. And for me, most importantly, was the fact they had something called a laptop gun. Anyone who's played Perfect Dark and hasn't used a laptop gun ever in multiplayer, you were sorely neglected as a child. So number 2 is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, created in 1998, and it was the action-adventure game in which Link goes off to travel back and forth in time to save Princess Zelda and Hyrule from the evil bastard Ganondorf. This was a game in which music played such an important part in the game, where he does receive this ocarina, and in order to progress he has to play various little melodies in order to unlock certain quest items. It was immensely well received by the gaming community. It was critically and commercially successful, and it does tie in to other Zelda games. In my opinion, this is actually the best Zelda game they've ever made. Twilight Princess was a very close second. The reason why I love this one so much, and I've said it's the best Zelda game, is because of the music, the sense of timey-wiminess. You know, I'm getting Doctor Who sort of images here. The easy gameplay. You can play this from such an early age, or you could play it when you're about 70 years old and it would still be, you know, just as enjoyable. So number 1, I mentioned it before, and it is GoldenEye 007. It's the 1997 first-person shooter based on the GoldenEye film, and you are taking the role of James Bond as you go through various different levels based on the scenes in the film. There are 3 levels of difficulty in this particular game. If you actually ended up completing the 00 mode, it would unlock 007, which enabled you to customise the difficulty of the particular levels. And as you progress, you can unlock cheat options, more maps for your multiplayer. So the multiplayer was particularly well received. You could have up to 4 players play in various different modes. This was critically and commercially really successful. Most people might be aware that there were more Bond related games spawned from this, as well as the Perfect Dark series, which used an upgraded engine. What I loved was that it was a James Bond tie-in. There were those difficulty levels that you could go through, from the easy mode right up to 007, which offered a different challenge for players with different abilities really. I've got to admit, I was pretty much the normal easy mode person. What I loved most of all, however, about this game was the multiplayer. You did have different modes that you could go up against your friends with. The 2 particular modes which I will probably never live down were the Man with the Golden Gun, where there was, surprisingly enough, a golden gun in the multiplayer level, and it was License to Kill, where you could kill anyone with a single blow, regardless of even if you're unarmed. With License to Kill, I believe I lost 13-0 to someone who, if they're watching, will probably be laughing right now because they're remembering it. I suck. So what I want to know this time round is, what were your top 5 N64 games? Were there any that you wanted them to make for the N64? And were there any that you wish they'd never made at all? Please feel free to leave your comments, any feedback you can give on this channel. Also, like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching guys, I'll see you soon.